Van Jones did the thing they pay him for. He got very choked up talking about the suffering that will be caused by the election of Donald Trump, and very, very much like the rest of the media figures we've seen here, wildly oscillating. We have two clips, one where he just does that thing, and then one where he has a refreshing moment of insight. So let's look at the first one.
I hear what you're saying, and I do see it differently because I'm thinking about the people who are not a part of anybody's elite who are hurting tonight.
Sure you are.
There are African-American women who know a little bit about being talked down to and know a little bit about having their economic dreams crushed, who tried to dream a big dream over the past couple of months. And tonight they're trading in a lot of hope for a lot of hurt. And they were hoping that...
Asshole. This administration has been in power for 4 fucking years. Why didn't people help them with their dreams then? Why all of a sudden is Trump's victory putting them in a worse position than they were yesterday? They were paying double for eggs before Donald Trump got elected.
Also, what about the Palestinian babies with 2,000-pound bombs falling on their heads?
Not a
courtesy
fucking
of Joe
word
Biden
about
and Kamala
that.
Harris. All
Not
he's
a
done is
word about
gaslight
that.
about that since October 7th. That's all he's done on this issue.
Not a word on that. Well, if you notice, none of them had a word to say about that.
No, the only one who broached the subject was Chuck Todd, who said, hey, you know what? They should follow John Fetterman's lead and be more pro-Israel.
And be more pro-Israel.
Yeah.
maybe this time, one of their own could be seen as worthy. And once again, they're facing rejection. And that hurts. They thought tomorrow morning they're going to walk out with their shoulders back a little bit. Maybe.
And I'm also going to point out, look, on an identitarian level, that may be true for some black women, but something that Van Jones is certainly not going to touch. Look, man, I know some libby, bougie black women. And I don't know any of them that actually liked Kamala Harris. They did not like the Kamala Harris would theoretically be the first black woman to gain that position. They did like the idea of setting the precedent and hopefully getting someone they actually like. It'll be easier for them next time. So in the end, they nominally backed her, but none of them liked her.
Yeah.
I mean, like black women who would be like very like Essence Festival kind of black women who would be very inclined to really like Kamala Harris. None of them liked her because of her record as a prosecutor.
Right.
Like this is condescending to that community too, to just talk around that. Like, oh no, they didn't know anything else about Kamala Harris. They unreservedly supported her that way. Like there's some truth to what he's saying. Like, yeah, break that barrier. I'm sure a lot did feel that way, but their feelings from my own conversations are a lot more complicated than he's letting on. And I mean, you don't have to go by my anecdotal observations. You could go by how she did when she tried to run for president in South Carolina. That was what convinced her not to even try for Iowa.
Right.
Because she was getting killed in South Carolina.
Yep.
Be able to breathe for the first time and feel like they belong someplace. They did everything that they knew how to do. And it's going to be harder than it should be tomorrow for them to hold their heads up. And they're not the only people who are hurting tonight. If you're a parent of a trans kid, your child's face was used as a springboard to power for somebody. That doesn't feel good.
Okay, and here's what he's not going to talk about, and that came up on one of the Morning Joe clips, right? They talked about this. I definitely saw this discussed. So Trump was running ads about this prison policy about transgender people in women's prisons, and that policy had been under him, but the Democrats wouldn't go after it because they didn't want to offend people within their own coalition. So they didn't respond back to this ad. They just let it run. Listen, on the trans thing, I agree with Keaton that this is not what decides elections, but I think we both agree that these things did not help. every study that's been done in countries that, not coincidentally, in my opinion, don't have for-profit healthcare, have concluded that the evidence for medicalizing children on the basis of this vague and little understood diagnosis is not there. There is no evidence to support the idea that having such a drastic intervention into the physical development, the neurological development, the future fertility of a child based on this very ill understood theoretical diagnosis to perform experimental medicine on children is not supported by the evidence. So when you sit here on a CNN panel as if this is good sense, yeah, no, they used your child's face. This just sounds like fucking crazy talk to most of the country, not some of the country, not bigots. I'm not a bigot. I have no problem with trans people. I do have a problem with using trendy ideas to intervene in a child's entire destiny, particularly when we know Lisa Sellen Davis, who we actually had on the show at one point. She published an article by a gay friend of hers who refused to vote for Kamala, saying, hey, we know from decades, maybe centuries of experience, that most of these children who do not present as traditionally male or female grow up to be gays and lesbians. And this Democratic Party that has fallen back on this very retrograde idea that if a boy does not present as traditionally male, they must be a girl. In the end, that's conversion therapy. And I can't support a party that supports that. So sitting there and talking about these things that they have tried to normalize that are just absolutely insane and bizarre to the majority of the population. Yeah, if the economy were great, would that be decisive? Probably not. But I think it's part of the reason it wasn't just a win. It's a landslide. Not just this, but the general way that this party is presenting its vision of the world.
I mean, I wish that I was approached by an exit pollster, because I would have lied and said that I voted for Kamala, and they would have asked me why. And I would have said, well, I really support her initiative to transition as many illegal immigrant prisoners as possible. That would have been a good answer.
I mean, really, we've got to start to plan. We got to go out and have like Crab handle the camera and just do that kind of trolling.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If I was approached, that would have been my answer.
Yeah. We're doing this all wrong. We go out and try to be journalists when really we're much better clowns.
Yeah.
We had someone in the comments say, I tried to watch the stream with my kids, but too many F-bombs.
Yes. Yeah.
This is not a child-friendly show.
Going to be people tomorrow. We're going to be handing clothes at the dry cleaners to people who don't have papers. There are going to be people who are going to be cleaning your teeth tomorrow who don't have papers. And they're terrified tonight. And so it's easy to blow this off. Oh, look at the elites. They're going to get their comeuppance. It's not the elite that's going to pay the price. It's people who woke up this morning with a dream and are going to bed with a nightmare. And those people deserve to be respected and held and talked to. Those are the people who are going to pay the price for whatever Donald Trump decides to do.
Yeah, but Van, how do we know that those people didn't vote? A large portion of those people aren't part of the people that elected Donald Trump.
Well,
right? I think that's a good part of the electorate. And the black women, the party, the Democratic Party, let those black women down. Not Donald Trump.
Hey, man, stop clock, right time. Yes, absolutely. And Van Jones, in a moment of lucidity, and this is where you're seeing they're just having a total nervous breakdown. They don't know which way to go. Van Jones seems to make that point on his own a little later.
This is a shock. It's a political realignment for sure. The Republican Party can now claim to be a multiracial working class party. That is a shock. But the policy implications for planet Earth are yet to be known.
Okay, so then why are you saying people are going to sleep with a nightmare? A lot of those people that you're describing actually voted for Donald Trump. You just said it yourself. The Republican Party is now a multiracial working class party. And this is a point Thomas Frank has been making forever, that the Democrats cannot concede that their old working class base is now voting Republican. They just can't. And now they finally can't deny it anymore.
Right. Well, I mean, this is baked into the analysis that often gets sort of, I think, wrongfully placed in a culture war bin. You know, it's the same thing like that. Well, I talked about this on the last episode or 2 episodes back, where like the deplorables thing was sort of classist, fused with culture war.
Your garbage. That was the this one.
The garbage and the deplorable. Yeah. It's both a cultural dig and a class dig at the same time. Right. Equating certain cultural precepts with a certain grubbiness and dirtiness, right? So a certain lowerness, if you will. And I think, you know, they have definitely fused that. Now, look, I want to be fair. I want to be like there is a tendency to overcorrect for this in a way that I think infantilizes white working class people. So, oh, we got to come to you and hear you out and feel your pain. You know, get very like coddlish to them, like your children, right? Mm-hmm. Like we have to cater to their every prejudice and every bias, and like no, we don't. Like we could be adults and talk about it like adults. Right. I don't think we should overcorrect and just surrender certain principles to placate them. But at the same time, politics is the art of like meeting people where they are and having that conversation. Of course. Being able to sort that out.
Persuading people.
Well, that's what Thomas Frank writes about, the idea that they are beyond communication. They are unreachable.
They're damaged goods.
They're damaged goods, exactly. Like there's a subtlety to it. There's a subtlety to it. Because if you go too far, if you overcorrect too far, then you end up overlooking a lot of things that I think are going to have to be fought against, such as lower wages. You could very easily just end up subscribing to an anti-worker policy set if you just take the position that, well, we are going to work backwards from the sense that these people must not be challenged or offended in any way. Right. Because the right is very good at fusing class war and culture war. And by class war, I mean class war being perpetrated by the rich against the workers. Right. They attach culture to that fight as well. Exactly. They do it on purpose. And so if you bend over backwards to
you want higher wages, what are you, woke or something?
Right, exactly, right. So you don't want to have your tongue too far in their ass to the point where you can't fight that. Right. So there has to be a certain balance there. And this is the challenge. But with that challenge, there is an opportunity now, I feel like, that this whole center-left project is just in a million pieces. There are pieces to pick up. If Kamala had won, there'd be no pieces to pick up.
Sure.
What are we going to go fucking try and convince Jack Posobiec and Charlie Kirk that actually... No, because if you notice, like, so here's
my opening pitch to Charlie Kirk is yes, I got ass raped by a demon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, so it's funny you mentioned the demon attack, right? So the Tucker Carlson demon attack, right? A guy like Tucker Carlson is obviously a very smart guy, is obviously a very perceptive person, right? Yep. Has done a lot of really great journalism and has made a lot of great insights, I think, in recent years, on a journey of sorts. With power, they are going to be grounded. Without power, they're just free to get as crazy as they want. On the campaign trail, you got Tucker Carlson bringing out Alex Jones to talk about what the fuck was he talking about? Some weird man-animal, salmon,
chimeras.
Half
he was
man,
talking about
half
chimeras.
Fish, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Roseanne Barr talking about
Creature from the Black Lagoon. That was a documentary.
Yeah, right. Just like crazy shit. And now he's in this documentary about how he was mauled by a demon in his cabin or some shit. Like, when you don't have power, you're free to just go as far down that rabbit hole as you want, because they'll never be accountable for anything, because you're never going to influence anything if you don't have power. Mm. So, like, if Trump lost, that whole sect would just get crazier and crazier. They would just go down this like religious
that was what I thought would happen if they lost
rabbit hole, right?
That it was just gonna get more and more fringe,
right? Because there will never be any accountability for it. All right, so you didn't get attacked by a demon, so what? You don't control anything, or you don't have any power over anybody. Who cares what you say? Now that you actually have power, I think that's going to ground them a little bit. And so I think, the same thing. Oh, thank you. I think, now that they're going to be responsible, that is going to sort
see,
of
that's what you
keep them
need.
from
Need a
going
woman
there.
who brings you a fucking sandwich during the podcast.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's actually a cup of coffee. It's actually her friend brought it, and I actually shouldn't be drinking this on the air because it's a Starbucks. We didn't buy it. My wife's friend bought it, who doesn't know the rules around here.
Your friend, she's
So-
not. You got to raise her political consciousness.
I got to explain it to her. Should I bring her in here? Should we give
Yeah,
her a
explain it
Maoist?
to her. Explain it to her.
We'll do a struggle session on the show.
Struggle session.
Yeah, right.
Re-educate her.
Hey,
Give
can
her a
you come in here
notebook
for a
and a
second,
pen
please?
and lock her in a closet. Make her fill the notebook with her crimes to get out.
Yeah. Can you come in here for a second, please? Can you come in here?
Yeah.
No, but the point is, so like if MAGA lost, they would get crazier and crazier because
Yes.
there would be no accountability for their craziness.
Yeah. Sure.
Now that the libs lost, they're going to be as directionless as the MAGA people would have been, which means you can go in there and scoop them up and direct them in some way that's
try.
not totally fucking psychotic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just don't let them in on the master plans because they will betray you.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Please clap.